Happy New Year, people. I hope everyone's had an amazing start to 2023. I wanted to just leave you a quick message on setting New Year's resolutions. I know a lot of people around this time have gone into January with a new plan of action on what they're going to achieve in 2023. And sometimes when looking at that list, it can feel very much overwhelming. And I believe a lot of the changes that we set ourselves are not sustainable for the test of time, and therefore people quit, right? This is why we see so many people go through New Year's resolutions, set them, and fail by the end of month one. So here's a different approach that I would encourage you to consider as you take this next step into 2023. I want you to start really small. I want you to start with something that just sounds so easy you can't say no, okay? So rather than trying to stop habits that are not currently serving you, I want you to think along the lines of upgrading a habit, okay? Because this is an old saying that old habits never die, right? And it's because they don't. It's scientifically proven that there's a wiring that's gone on in our brain that's created that pathway. And that pathway is always there, right? So trying to kill it off is impossible. Whereas if you look to upgrade that habit with something that's going to serve your health rather than hinder your health, that's where the magic lies. I recently listened to a podcast with Stephen Bartlett, and he talked about this exact subject. It's something that so aligns with my way of thinking that, he talks about his dad who, when he gets in the car, he used to light up a cigarette, and that was his habit. Yeah, there's a cue, there's a reminder, which is the cue of getting in the car. Then there's the routine of lighting up a cigarette and going into the side of the vehicle to get the cigarette. And then the reward is obviously the feeling you get when you have that addiction. So dopamine is the driver to that reward pleasure mechanism. So if you think about it in your habits and what's not serving you right now, the way he interrupted that pattern was he replaced the cigarettes in the car with lollipops, right? So it stopped him from smoking because every time he got in the car, he stuck in a lollipop, and it felt the same sort of thing. He had something in his mouth, but it was in the same compartment where his cigarettes used to lie. And I also believe if you want things in your life, the easiest way to do it is to remove the friction, all right? And then the things that you don't want in your life, add more friction in place. So in that scenario, if he wanted to smoke a cigarette and they're not in the car, there's more friction now for him to obtain a cigarette. And by putting something in place that allows him to upgrade it, he still feels a sense of reward when he gets into the car, right? And I'm going to talk about it from my perspective now. So my big vice has always been chocolate. I am a chocoholic through and through, right? Now, I realized this very early on. I used to go to the ice cream van back in school, and I'd buy 3 or 4 bars of chocolate, and I would demolish them all in a day. And I really had this sugar addiction. And again, sugar is an addiction, and it lights up dopamine response in your brain, which is the reward mechanism, as I talked about. So I needed a way to still satisfy that craving of chocolate with a healthier alternative. And I found multiple different ways to do that. So a couple of ways: dark chocolate, 90% plus, because it's got less sugar in, but it still gives me that sweetness and that craving satisfied feeling when I have that in my life, right? That's number one. The other one is protein bars that are high in protein and low in sugar. They give me, as long as they taste good, which the ones that I chose did, then they give me that sense of reward, but they're providing my body with goodness as opposed to providing my body with junk. And that's the magic really, and what you're trying to do is that if you look at the habit, you've got to identify, first of all, what is the cue, the reminder, right? And where does that happen? So where are you? How many times a day? Generally, it's paired with stress or boredom. So they're the two sort of things that tend to happen before the cue. So stress might lead to you going out and lighting up a cigarette and that's then become that cue, reminder, which is then the routine is then go outside, have a cigarette, and then the reward is, you get a dopamine response from that addiction. So this is how you're going to disrupt it. And this is why like e-cigarettes are a great replacement for people who are struggling to give up smoking, because you're still feeling the sense of you're smoking something. And I don't know the long-term health impact of smoking an e-cigarette. Ideally I'd say don't do it at all, but ultimately it is a healthier option. So it is an upgrade in that essence. So getting back to the point, really simple way to do this is to look and identify what's not serving my health right now and look to upgrade that habit. If you have 6 cups of coffee a day, let's say, and there's 2 sugars going in the coffee, right? I'd encourage you to either look at switching out the sugar with a plant-based alternative like stevia. I look at maybe instead of 2 sugars, bringing it down to 1. Maybe instead of 6 cups of coffee, it comes down to 4, right? So rather than trying to remove it and restrict yourself and create this lifestyle of boredom, right, that you think, it will eventually, something will subside, especially if you're trying to do, join a gym, do dry January, eat a vegan diet, right? If you're trying to do all these things, over time, you may do that for 30, 60, 90 days. But over time, what does maintenance plan look like from that point going forward, right? Is it sustainable long term? And the question that you should always come back to is, could I do this forever? Okay, so my recommendation is implement one healthy habit upgrade today and build upon that foundation, maybe one a month. So by the end of the year, you've implemented 12 habit upgrades that are going to compound over the course of your life. They might not get you the 90-day transformation that you're looking for, to achieve that desired chisel look, but I'll guarantee you this, the sustainable long-term success of what you're going to implement are going to serve you far better than these quick fixes that exist. So I hope this message served you well. I just want to wish you a very prosperous, healthy, happy, and successful 2023.